Welcome. This is Nalta Explores number 21. Only 2 days ago, we had our Nalta Explores Internet of Things event in B-Building, Amsterdam. At this event, I had 2 interviews with Michael J. Morton, CTO of Dell Boomi, on stage. Today, interview number 1 about IoT and data. Welcome, Michael J. Morton, Dell Boomi. So, he flew in yesterday from the United States, straight ahead, and you're now here, our special guest. And my first question for you, and it's a tough one, what's your definition of the Internet of Things?
Okay, first, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
This is great to be here again with you. We've been on stage before, so hopefully a little chemistry shows.
You never know.
You never know what's going to happen. All right, my definition of IoT. You know, it is always a story, of course. It took a little bit of time to figure out what do I think the definition of IoT is. There's lots of definitions out there. It's sort of a nebulous term. A lot of people have their own definition of what IoT is, and typically people immediately launch into devices and thermostats. You know, they seem to want to gravitate towards the device itself. But in my eyes, the device it's almost irrelevant. It's not about the device. It's about the data that device produces. That's what IoT is all about. So the definition, my definition of IoT is achieving some outcome because of the device data.
It's almost philosophical. I've spoken with a lot of people during those Nalta Explores series online. We're currently at 20. There are people from Dell, like Jan van 't Klooster. Typically we do those videos in Dutch, so you'll probably not understand what we're talking about. We're talking a lot about
Google to do the translation, so I'm good.
Really?
Yeah.
We're talking about customer journeys and about IoT. And the typical thing is that when you ask the question, you get very different answers.
That's right.
So that's really intriguing. And when listening to the presentation of Hans, he's got his definition.
Yes.
But it translates and mutates back to data. You're responsible within Boomi for all the technical stuff, right?
That's right. Yep.
And you started what year in the company?
I started with Boomi as the CTO in 2013, so about 5.5 years.
Okay.
Yep. It's been a while, and a lot has changed in 5.5 years in regards to IoT. A lot.
So what are for you the typical changes over these last 5 years?
In regards to IoT particularly?
Yeah.
Okay. So 5 years ago, people were certainly talking about IoT in a bit of a siloed standpoint, right? Within the past 2 years, I think businesses are finally figuring out how to generate business value from IoT. But what's happening now is it is going to be likely that there'll be no business left on this planet in the next 2 to 3 years that will not be producing or consuming device data, period. In one way or the other. Today, we often think of businesses as integrating business content, business data, right? But absolutely every business will be producing and or consuming device data. I mean, if you think about it, whether because they're the manufacturer of a device or it's information about inventory in a supply chain, right? All of these things are being detected by sensors and devices. So I'm really certain that we're now in this era that integration is no longer just about business content. Integration is about the integration of device data and business data together.
So we're connecting people, machines, tools, apps on a data level, and that's exactly where Boomi fits in, right?
That's exactly right. Yep. So Boomi is the hidden underbelly of integration. People connect today. I mean, if you're connecting through Facebook or Twitter or WhatsApp, right? That's just the interface that's being used for a human to interact with another human.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happening under the covers is really data integration. And so we're already seeing this today in Boomi, that we're seeing businesses really quickly transition towards the exchange of device data now.
So we're here on an IoT event. We're exploring IoT. And we want to learn about IoT, set up an IoT strategy,
Yep.
Building platforms. What is a good advice with the lessons learned over the past 5 years for our audience? Where do they start?
That's a really good question.
Thank you. We didn't rehearse this one, by the way.
No, this is what he does. He tries to throw me these questions. Where do they start?
Yeah.
It's a very popular question. So here's my advice. What's the problem you want to solve? Don't talk about the device. Don't talk about data. What is the problem that you want to solve? And 90% of the time, I'm just throwing a number out, by the way, just for emphasis, it is going to involve a person. I would challenge anybody, without polling the old, machine to machine, which has been around a long time. That still exists, it's still going to exist. But in the modern era of devices, device data, there is always a person involved. So I'm seeing the most successful examples of IoT be where you're defining what is the interaction with a human in regards to what problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah. In our project, what I found funny is I agree with you on the people's perspective. And we can tell a story about having a business case and start from a business case, an IoT project. But I found extremely cool, and the way we work is extremely useful for that, is looking at your data. We're running projects that we just ask a customer, what data do you collect? We're not only talking about sensor data, but data as a whole. And where is the hidden value to that? And as Boomi is right in the middle of this structure, this piping, like in the opening video, you see the plumbing.
That's right.
That's exactly where Boomi sits.
Yep.
It connects the sensors, the data, data flowing through Boomi to applications and data lakes. What is what you're seeing from that? Are customers looking from a data perspective to start an IoT project?
I'm going to sadly say yes. A lot of times they are. But it's a learning experience. It's a maturity curve. Eventually you get to the point where you understand that the data feeds it, but it's we see it all the time. We see it all the time now, that when you force someone to think about the problem that you're solving, the discussion of data gets set aside temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
And that's correct. I mean, that's the right thing to do. And then come back to the data that you need to solve the problem.
We're not using examples right now. In the panels after us, we have 2 panels planned. We'll drill down into real-world examples of how you actually put the people in center of a solution or the data. So that's.
I can give you an example.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
I'll give you an example that I sometimes use when I have discussions with cities. Okay, everybody's smart city happy right now.
They are.
I guarantee that someone in the audience is working on some smart city initiative, right? But I'm gonna, and by the way, this is even, I want to say not unnatural for me, but I'm the CTO of a company, right? So, I dream bits and bytes. But I also have to think about how to engage in a conversation with a customer. So I would say this about Smarter City. A lot of Smarter City, it's no surprise to anybody. What is Smarter City? What are cities trying to do? Oh, they're trying to save costs. So maybe they're looking into more energy efficient lighting, control lighting. Maybe they're looking at trying to detect sewage spills. And the list goes on and on and on, right? But I look at them and say, why are you telling me about examples that benefit the city and not benefit the citizens?
And what is their reaction?
Oh, that's where they pause, right? Because I say, look, the point is you have to look at this as you're benefiting the citizens of your city first. Mm-hmm. And then you see the wheels start turning. You see that they start thinking like, oh, you know what? You're right. Then you start thinking about the challenges that you need to solve to make it better for your citizens. And then you start thinking about the data you need to collect.
I agree.
So
I couldn't agree more.
That's a different way to look at it that people don't have a natural tendency to do.
But how? Then again, you tell them, they give you your answer,
Yep.
and that's not the answer they expect. They probably think you're going to solve their problem, and what you do is ask an additional question.
Right.
What happens in the long run? Because this is a very insightful thing starting an IoT project. We see many fail. Many fail from a minimal viable product point of view. They get to that stage and then it's finished. What is their answer after a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's interesting that you said minimal viable because IoT seems to be an overwhelming concept that everybody wants to gobble all the data first and then figure out what to do second. That's the problem. And it just doesn't work that way.
So basically when they ask you the question, they should have done a little bit more homework before they address the question to you.
Well, yes.
Is that the right conclusion?
I kind of feel that way about many things. Yes. Yes.
We have this clock ticking, by the way, and it says 33 seconds.
Yes.
And I came up with this concept a couple of months ago, and I find it very irritating. But it's my fault. It's my fault.
Do I get the last question or no?
Yeah, that's the decentralized one with Tim Berners-Lee in the
okay.
video. You got 80 seconds.
Decentralized. What's the purpose of decentralized? Data privacy? What is it?
It's just a flow. IT is a flow, and this flow of new technology getting old and old technology becoming new, and that's what we're telling basically today. Don't you think?
Our time is up.
Lights out. See you back.